Tennessee This Week from WATE's 6 on Your Side starts now.
Hello and welcome to Tennessee This Week. I'm Bo Williams. This week we're joined by a former U.S. ambassador to Poland who has many other feathers in his cap, including former city of Knoxville Mayor Victor Ashe joins us right now. We're going to talk about a range of topics that are making the headlines. First of all, thanks so much for coming in.
Glad to be here, Bo.
Let's start things off. Obviously, one of the big topics this week, the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk in Utah. Obviously, we're recording this on a Friday. We've learned that a 22-year-old suspect has been taken into custody. But moving forward now for the country, where do we go? This has just been another piece or another story of political, at least violence. At least that's what we think the motive was here. But we have seen in the past in Minnesota, Pennsylvania, and other areas.
Well, our current president and a former president.
True, that's right. Two attempts against current President Trump's life. Where does the country go from here, and how do we try to calm the waters, so to speak?
I sort of think we need to get back to the Howard Baker School of Thought, who's obviously from Tennessee, and for whom the Baker School at UT is named. And I remember when I worked with him, there were two things he always said. He said, your opponent does not need to be your enemy. There are plenty of people you don't necessarily agree with, but that doesn't make them a lifelong enemy. And he was very good in the Senate as both the Republican and later majority and minority leader in dealing with both political parties. And he saved Jimmy Carter's Panama Canal Treaty. Secondly, the other thing he used to say, you need to remember that on occasion, your opponent might be right. And if he or she is right, why are you arguing about it?
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
And, Charlie Kirk, he was here at UT a few months
not that long ago, sure.
Has every right to be here, and whether you agree or disagree with him, he should be heard. And the violence which occurred is it's sickening, deplorable, and I hope the country as a country can put it behind it. First of all, we need to remember we're Americans first. We're Democrats or Republicans or maybe independent after that, and have different views, and that's fine. Debate them. You have an election to decide which side represents the majority.
You mentioned something there about putting things aside. The Utah governor made a comment saying either this is the start of a dark period or we can make this the end of a dark period.
I think Governor Cox of Utah has been outstanding in the way he has articulated a rather tragic set of circumstances that he didn't anticipate.
Sure. That
just happened. And he has certainly been the adult around in saying what needed to be said. And hopefully it's the end, not the start.
Yeah. He even pointed out as people are pointing fingers at different parties or what have you, he has said there's only one person at fault here, and that is the 22-year-old.
The young man who shot Charlie Kirk.
And that is what he was trying to bring up on Friday. Another topic we want to talk about today, the president announcing sending National Guard troops to Memphis. He's been talking about that for Chicago. That has not come to fruition. We've seen it, though, in D.C. We've seen it in California. But now talking about Memphis. So let me get your thoughts on that.
Well, first of all, I think it's hard to find what is consistent about what President Trump's saying. I mean, this week it's Memphis. Last week it was New Orleans. Then it was Chicago. Nothing ever happened. There are not troops in Memphis yet. If there are issues that involve the problems, we have a governor who presumably should deal with that. And this isn't something that happened a week ago. We have Tennessee troops right now, National Guard, in the District of Columbia. They should, if we're going to send troops to Memphis, they should come home and go to Memphis. It's ridiculous for us to be, and the 30 days that they were to be sent to the District of Columbia has expired. And if you look at the cities lately that President Trump's been naming, not a single soldier has gone to any of them. Now, maybe they will on this. And you had a member of the Tennessee delegation say, no, they should go to Nashville. That's where it's a problem than Memphis. I think we have leaders in both cities, and the crime rate, by the way, has gone down, not up, down.
Right.
And so we need to get a handle on the facts and have a mature way of looking at it. Certainly public safety is the primary issue that any mayor of any city in any state of the United States must put front and center.
Right. Well, the governor's already said he wants to send more state troopers to Memphis. So do
Well,
we
then he
need
should do
National
it.
Guard then on top of
I
that?
mean,
or
if
is
he's
it-
sending troopers or the guardsmen need it, remember they have day jobs. They work for companies and they are drawn off. The company no longer has their services. They don't know when they'll be back. And it's disruptive and should only be done when there's an emergency such as floods, natural disasters, tornadoes, that type of thing. But also, if there's a serious crime issue, you should explore other areas of resolving it before you call in the Guard. I'm not saying you don't, but Governor Lee is more current with Tennessee than President Trump.
I tell you what, we want to move forward now on another topic. I know one that you've been watching closely as well, and that is the latest incident in Poland involving the war in Ukraine, Russia and Ukraine, Russia drones crossing over into Polish airspace. Poland, and I also think Dutch aircraft were scrambled, shot down a number of drones. Having been the ambassador in Poland, just your initial thoughts, first of all, when you saw this.
Well, first of all, I'm very concerned. I think Putin is pushing the envelope. He's testing our willingness to support and honor the terms of the NATO treaty. Knoxville, by the way, has a sister city in Poland, Helm, which is literally 18 miles from the Ukrainian border. Whether any of these drones were in that area, I don't know. And then Lublin's a major city, which was the headquarters of Stalin's so-called Polish support towards the end of World War II. I think Putin is testing us, just as he tested Biden. Trump has had a let's get along with Putin attitude. Maybe he's learned from that it gets you nowhere. His meeting with Putin in Alaska would have to be termed a non-event. What did it achieve?
Yeah, and I'll say a number of leaders in Poland have said since that Alaska meeting, bombings in Ukraine
If anything,
have gone up.
Putin came away with a signal, let's push it. Let's see what we can get.
Right.
And if there's no serious response, we'll go further.
Yeah.
If in fact there was an invasion on top of the drones, we're obligated by Article 4 of the NATO treaty to respond if called upon. Just as, by the way, the NATO nations supported us with the attack on Afghanistan and on the World Trade Center. The NATO treaty has been invoked to help the United States. It may now be our time to help Poland. We don't have a stronger ally other than the United Kingdom in Europe than the Republic of Poland. And they have always been with us. And we've had over 100 years of diplomatic relations. Kokusko, who's the founder of West Point, was a Polish nobleman who came and helped George Washington in our fight for independence. And we should be right there with them. And today we're not. And to keep talking about why you're sending troops to American cities, which you, by the way, don't send, New Orleans, Chicago, Memphis, but we're not yet responding to the drones in Poland, is an inconsistency and a gap that is starking and that Putin will see in a heartbeat and take advantage of.
Let me ask you one other topic here. We're going to bring it back home for a second. Just get your thoughts, your stance on the Chilhowie Park debate. We were talking about that before we went on.
If there's ever been a rough patch that's sort of blown up and not been resolved, I think what needs to happen now is step back, start over again. I mean, some of the studies were in 2019. That's 6 years ago. The appraisal that was done was actually done by the group that wants to buy the land. That's an obvious conflict. I think let the 5 new members of council be elected, whoever they are, move it off till next spring, and just start over and see where it ends up. But right now, it's adversarial. You have large meetings of city council. It has not worked out the way the mayor would have hoped. And I think it will spill over and impact the current city council.
I was going to ask you, is this going to impact come up in November? Is this going to
and
impact
I think
election?
it could very well impact the sales tax referendum, which are both separate issues.
Right.
And those two are separate from should part of Chilhowie Park be a new center for the Emerald Youth program, which most people agree is a very good program. But it's gotten in the midst of a political battle. And you're going to have a number of losers and no winners, and the best thing to do is just step back, let troubled waters calm down, and start over and deal with each of the issues that have been raised.
So get through November, get the new.
Well, in less than 60 days,
Right.
November 4 will be passed. We'll have 5 members of council, new members
New
who will
members,
take office
and then they can proceed
in
from there.
December. And the mayor will be on her last 2 years as mayor. And let's see, and we'll have a race for mayor.
Yeah. We've covered a lot of topics. I appreciate you coming in.
Glad to be here,
As
Bo.
always. All right. Stay with us. We have much more of Tennessee This Week in just a moment. And welcome back to Tennessee This Week. A moment ago, we heard from former U.S. Ambassador to Poland, Victor Ashe, and also, we should point out, former mayor as well of Knoxville. Let's bring in our panel of pundits to expand on what he had to say. We touched on a number of topics. Joining us today, Courtney Piper, Michael Covington, and Julia Hurley. Great to have all of you here, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael, we're going to start at the end down there. We're going to pick up where we left off with the former mayor. We're going to talk about Emerald Youth, Chilhowie Park. He says, let's just table this thing, basically. Let's get through the November election. We're going to have a lot of new faces on city council, and then let's just start all over again. What do you think?
Let me just say I've always been a big fan of former mayor and former ambassador Victor Ashe and his opinions about things. I fully concur with his assessment of the situation. I could not have put it better. I wish he had been here last week to have helped me. But yes, I agree wholeheartedly with that. I'm with the former mayor, former ambassador. He's on the right track with this thought process.
Courtney, what do you think? I know we've already pushed back the date here where they're going to be talking about this, but should we just wait till next spring at this point?
The date has been pushed back enough where I'm curious, is there enough time to resolve these differences? Because as we talked about last week, the city and Emerald Youth have produced documentation that shows that they had about 17 public meetings between 2022, 2025. They engaged about 500, 600 people in East Knoxville. But clearly there is still a disconnect because we've had an entire community rise up and say, well, it wasn't us, I wasn't a part of those. So that disconnect needs to be addressed. If it can be addressed before the next vote, great. If not, then some serious consideration should be done. I live in Holston Hills, I live in East Knoxville. I would like to see that property turn into a community asset and not just be this parking lot that's only used about 2 weeks out of the year.
Julia, your thoughts?
So I attended the elected luncheon for the Tennessee Valley Fair. They hold it every year, and Randy Boyd made a really good point during his speech. All the elected officials were on the stage with him, as well as several Knoxville leaders, and he said, these are the same people up here that helped bring the baseball stadium here. And we had so many issues and so many conversations and so many things arise that needed to be tackled. It took years. These are the same people that will find a solution to this as well. And I think that was a great way to stay neutral to the conversation and also give credit to there are people here to solve the problems. I kind of agree with Courtney. We've had a lot going on, but there's still discourse and it does need to be solved.
What about as far as just real quick, I know we're getting off track here just a hair, but the old KPD headquarters, I mean, that's still sitting there. There's some properties in there.
It is still sitting there, but if you will recall, Bo, in this whole conversation about that being a science center, I believe that the city deeded that property to the Claytons or whatever
And then they said they weren't going to build, but they were going to prep the land.
Right. So I don't think the city has ownership of that property. So sure, we can talk about that, but the city does not have any control over that piece of property if it has not been deeded back to them.
Michael, I'm reading your face down.
I'm sitting here with a realtor broker professional. I cannot imagine the sense it makes for the Claytons to have deeded property to them that they now control. They are off the hook for the promised $100 million science center. They've donated $25 million to the Muse so that they can take over the Jacobs building. Clayton Foundation is off the hook for the $100 million science center. They still own, they're deeded the property for the police station. Something's wrong with all of this. The city is not running the city's business very well. I would not vouch for what the city is doing in these regards at all. It makes no sense. The Claytons own that land now. They can do whatever they choose. Prep it, sell it, they can do whatever they like. They've gotten out of the Science Center. They've recreated the Muse. What is the city doing? I think that is what voters want to know. What are you doing?
Julia, any final thoughts on this topic?
I think final thoughts on what the city's doing. As far as I can tell from the involvement that I've had with Visit Knoxville and the city of Knoxville, they are completely transparent in most of their communication on what their plans are going to be and what they would like to see happen. And I think when private entities and private businesses get involved, those lines get a little blurry and we're not exactly sure who's making decisions where and for what reason. So I would like some clarification.
Courtney, I want to change the topic and talk Memphis for a moment.
Yes.
Again, we are recording this on Friday. Today, the president announcing that he wants to send National Guard troops to Memphis. Governor Lee has said that he was already planning to send state troopers to Memphis. Yes, no? I mean, do you agree with these moves? Should it just be the state troopers? Do we need the National Guard in Memphis? The mayor there, I know, has said crime is down in that city. So what do you think about the move, the proposal by the president?
It's all political theater and unnecessary. I mean, we've got some real issues that we need to address as a country. And what we saw from the occupation in Washington, D.C., is that those troops were concentrated where the tourists were, in the northwest quadrant of the city. The folks who live in the southeast quadrant of the city, where the most crime historically is, said they did not see that presence, and that's where the presence was needed. So what we know is these announcements are all for show and for theater. There is no commitment to reduce crime and help people in the cities that are victims of crime. It is all for theater. We do not need any more political theater in this country. The state of Tennessee does not need political theater. We have real challenges and, more importantly, real opportunities that we could spend our political capital, time, and energy on instead of this.
Julie, what do you think about as far as Memphis and the proposal here of National Guard troops going in?
Well, so I would say that yes, there were the Washington, D.C. situation, you're correct. One part of it was where a lot of people visit, and strangely enough, the state of Tennessee gets most of its budget from visitors. And so when Memphis visitation is down, when that tourism dollar is down, and a very large part of that tourism dollar is Memphis specifically, for very good reason, and we're starting to see real estate development decline at such a rapid rate and electoral votes decline at such a rapid rate, something does have to be done to reiterate, hey, please come and visit Memphis, Tennessee. We do want your money. We want your visitation dollars. So I think those areas could use that same short boost of support from the federal government. But again, if you're going to do it in some places, do it all the places and find a better and bigger solution overall.
Yeah, because we've been hearing about Chicago, but
Right.
it looks like nothing has really materialized in Chicago. And it looks like the focus is on Memphis. I think the former mayor even mentioned New Orleans was brought up at one point. Michael, let me get your thoughts on Memphis.
Honestly, fear has a way of making people do things that people who aren't fearful simply don't understand. So if I were to say there was a period of time when I lived in Ellicott City, Maryland, that I had a knee pad that I kept in both of my cars that I would put down when I'd go get gas, because there was a sniper in D.C., and that sniper was dropping human beings from 3 football fields away. We were terrified. I would not let my wife go pump gas at all, because it was so dangerous. When I pumped gas, I just had to look up at the pump because I was under the car. That's a fear that is real in an area. Those assailants were riding back and forth past my housing development, and we didn't know it until they were captured. My point is, whatever it is that goes on in Chicago that makes it so dangerous, I wouldn't go there for any reason. I wouldn't walk the streets there for any reason. I've spent a lot of time in Washington, D.C. I would not walk the streets in Washington, D.C. right now. I don't have a sense for where the danger is. Baltimore City was always a dangerous place. If they're sending troops in to maintain order and keep people safe in those cities, it's needed. It really is. There are certain streets that I'm familiar with that I would be afraid to walk 2 blocks without my tool, and my tool is a 9. No. In those places like Memphis, like Washington, like Chicago, like Baltimore, like Memphis, they need all the help they can get. People are not safe on the street. They really are not.
All right, we're going to take a break. We need to do that right now. We're going to come back. We have some more topics we want to touch on, so keep it tuned right here to Tennessee This Week. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Tennessee This Week. On Monday, Knox County School Board members selected a new board chair. Christy Christie was selected as the new chair after being nominated to the position by Lauren Morgan. She has served as chair before back in 2022. This time around, Christie replaces Betsy Henderson. Henderson served as school board chair the past 2 years. Travis Wright, meanwhile, was selected as vice chair of the school board Monday afternoon. So let's bring our pundits back in. I want to get everybody's thoughts on this. Christy Christie, former, now current board chair. So Michael, let me start with you at the end of the table. Just kind of get your thoughts on where we go from here and how this played out and on the nomination.
Well, vouchers are in our rearview mirror. And the former chair was really into vouchers, and the voucher program passed. I would imagine that Christy, I always have a difficult time with that. Christy, it's probably her time again. It's probably her time to come back in and pick up where she left off. She did a fine job as chair before, and I think she'll do a fine job again.
Courtney?
Well, first of all, congratulations to Christy Christie and Travis Wright. Travis Wright is my school board member.
Okay.
What's really interesting about this whole situation, Bo, is that Steve Triplett was the vice chair, and somehow he got passed over. When Christy Christie was the board chair last time, Betsy Henderson was the vice chair. And then Betsy Henderson moved to chair, and then there was a new vice chair selected. I think it is very notable that Steve Triplett was passed over for another leadership position. So we will see how this year of the school board goes. Christy Christie was the chair when I was working with parents to get some policy passed related to children with special needs and special education. So, and that passed unanimously under her leadership. So, or actually I think they changed mid while that was happening. The point being, congratulations to her. I've got my school board member now that is vice chair, but again, the notable part of all this is that the vice chair was passed over for a leadership position.
Interesting. Julie, any thoughts on what?
I had not considered that someone had been passed over for that, but again, congratulations. I would say there's a lot of political music chairs going around in the Knoxville market. Keep an eye on it for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. Anything moving forward? Anybody like to see from the board? I know we've kind of talked a little bit about Christy Christie, but what you would like to see next moving forward now?
Yes, Bo, I have an entire agenda. Would you like me to, how much time do we have?
Well, I'll count you down.
Okay. So Betsy Henderson, when she was chair, passed a resolution calling for Knox County to be a model district for special education. Okay. The district hired a consultant to create recommendations, and the district is now creating a strategic plan to that end. I want to see an aggressive focus on special education. When we talk about reading and making sure that all of our students can read at grade level, the students that need intervention and supports go through special education. So getting that right and making sure that we are identifying the kids that need support with reading and that they have the most aggressive programs possible to intervene to that end. So those are things that I would like to see. In addition to supporting the staff, what that report also found is that there weren't enough staff positions within special education, from school psychologists to case managers. So we've got to make sure that our school system is staffed appropriately. It might not mean hiring more people, it might mean being more efficient with the staff that you already had. But what's clear is that some of our positions are overtaxed, overworked, and we cannot expect excellence from that. We can only expect survival, and we want more from our students.
Yeah. Michael, what should be the big focus in your thoughts as far as moving forward to school board? What are they be looking at here?
Well, they're looking at expanding the educational opportunities. Obviously, Courtney has touched on a number of those things. Just being thoughtful about how they move forward, listening to the parents, listening to the teachers in the classroom. We can marshal the resources that we need, but as Courtney was saying, we have to be willing to spend the monies and stick behind the objectives, which is to get the best educational opportunity for our young people, no matter what their situation is.
Julia, your thought? I mean, we're all parents here. Our kids are all different ages, but your thought moving forward as a parent, what would you like to see moving forward for the school system?
I would like to see an expansion of the partnership with the 865 Academies. I work really close with 865 Academy, and I absolutely adore everything they're doing, and we're currently on a work program through all of the high schools are involved currently in Heroes Hill with Glenn Jacobs. So we're really excited to see the expansion of being able to use what these kids' hands-on learning experiences are through 865 Academy and that project for homeless veterans. So I think that more hands-on experiences and, of course, obviously funding for that would be fantastic.
All right, and on that note, we're going to wrap things up. We want to thank Victor Ashe for his time as well for coming in, and we want to thank our panel of pundits as always. Great to see you guys, and we hope to see you next week on Tennessee This Week.
The views of guests on Tennessee This Week are their own and do not represent the views of WATE 6 on your side or Nexstar Broadcasting.